Capricorn, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for September 5th through the 11th, 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Capricorn, this week we have a sort of split week. First half has the easier aspects, collectively easier, with the Sun trining Pluto and Venus sextiling up to Saturn. We'll also be in the early phase of the lunar cycle, which is actually a solar eclipse cycle, because we did have a solar eclipse last week, and this was in your 8th house of really getting deeper in life and having that openness and intimacy in life, both with yourself, your relationships, and with life in and of itself. So we'll talk more about this, but the first half, we will be in the crescent phase with this, which is usually a bit more of a supportive time of moving things forward there, experimenting and trying new things involving that eclipse. Then as we go into the weekend, we will be in the first quarter phase, which is collectively challenging, in that it's a good time to challenge ourselves, to personally develop, spiritually develop, etc. Now, the big aspect with this, though, is that Saturn, your ruler, is squaring up to Neptune for the last and final time. So for those of you who've been following this weekly, you'll know that I've been talking a lot about this since November, this square. And this has been perhaps uncertainty and confusion and doubt when we're trying to project things into the future. So Neptune is calling us to be present. Your ruler, as always, is calling us to be patient and persistent, even though we may not know how things are unfolding. So we'll talk more about that, and we'll look at some of these other aspects over the weekend. But looking at this first half, coming into this more easier energy, moving things forward with that eclipse in your 8th house. So last week, new beginnings and transformations involving how you can have that more intimate connection to life. And maybe even see things too in terms of shared resources. How to have healthy interdependency, healthy codependency. Maybe even too, releasing yourself from any bonds or any attachments, or even if it's external, any debts that might be inhibiting you. So this is really the time for the next year and a half to put energy into this area of life, to learn more about it. And with the eclipse, it's transforming, that's changing this, it's making this a very powerful month here in September. So learning is really the name of the game with the North Node. And as long as you're open to learning more about what truly matters to you in life, how to have openness, intimacy, vulnerability, again, both with yourself, with relationships, and with life, then that's a great way of working with this. And you'll find that this is an excellent week to move those new beginnings forward if any new insights or literally new things came your way since last week. All right, so that's the eclipse. Now, in terms of these easier aspects, the Sun, still in that 8th house, is trining up to Pluto. So there is good positive support for change here this early part of the week. Maybe to express yourself there in intimate ways, open ways. And anything too that you feel like you've been changing with the deep psyche, with your spiritual self, releasing, in this case too, any old cycles and any old patterns deep in the psyche over many years with Pluto here, now very powerful, very supportive. And so this is where you can express yourself quite deeply, quite truthfully, quite openly. And it's all about these things that you could be focused on that really matter to you in life or relationships. So good energy there, and Venus will be sextiling up to your ruler. So you guys, on a minor note, because it's a sextile, here around Wednesday in particular, maybe feeling good, looking good. There's a bit of this values, a bit of this beauty in your life, and it could be through relationships, could be with yourself. A lot of this is Venus in your 9th house helping you expand your horizons, especially with Jupiter now recently shifting into your 9th. And you can enjoy those. Enjoy a bit of that adventurous spirit in your life. Maybe things like philosophy or higher learning. Anything that is open-minded. And really, with Jupiter in particular, seeing the importance of your belief system. All right, the importance of having open-mindedness, seeing potentials, changing that belief system. So lots of good positive energy there. And I think you can feel that perhaps this first half of the week. Now, as we go into the weekend, your ruler squaring up to Neptune is the most important aspect here. And so this has been your ruler in your 11th house. So for about the past year, it's been a good time for you to take your aspirations seriously. This is your own personal hopes, your own personal wishes, the things that you want to cultivate in life. That's the 11th house. Some of you with groups or friends or network circles, taking that seriously and building that area of life, maybe even with community. So however that's been manifesting for you, it's good, particularly this week, to continue to take the slow and steady approach towards cultivating those personal and interpersonal aspirations. Now, the square up to Neptune in your second house has been helping you have more acceptance when it comes to the resources in life. And this is both your inner and outer resources. So with Neptune, it's always best to let go, to detach, to surrender, and really accept things for how they are in the present moment that have to do with your resources. Maybe it's your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance, allowing the energy to flow. Maybe with the South Node, there's some old patterns that have to do with self-reliance or self-interest and your own personal values that might be taken to an extreme right now. And so it's a good time, especially with this eclipse, to see if there's any old energies that are repeating in your life that might be unhealthy, having to do with your values. Maybe, for example, maybe it's over enjoyment, overspending, over wanting to enjoy, the easier side of life. Or, it can manifest in so many different ways. That's just one example. But reflect for you personally. See if there is any imbalances that might have to do with your inner and outer resources. And as a result, you'll find that there's more peace, there's more tranquility, the more you detach and let go. And it's actually your point of spiritual liberation right now at the moment. You can liberate yourself by accepting how things are with these resources, with these values. And it's a great week to challenge yourself to do that. And you'll find that very constructively supporting, with that approach, the present approach, supporting these aspirations. It may not seem like it because it's a square, but it is. It's all constructive. These areas are trying to work together. But with the square, there's sometimes resistance, or we're not willing to take the action, or it's uncomfortable. But it's all there. It's all aspected, which means there is a synergy, there is a connection. And all of it is for you to, which is the fundamental to all of this, cultivate the deeper side of life, to cultivate what really matters, to even understand more about yourself psychologically in that sense. So you can have this deeper connection. You can have openness to life and transforming any old patterns. This is all 8th house stuff. And again, in relationships, having that vulnerability. And it's all in all relationships, all interactions. All right, so that's the strongest energy of the week, really, because of the T-square with that. But we also do have Venus squaring up to Pluto. So over the weekend, too, extra attention there when it does come to the more expansive things in life. We were talking about the first half, very good for opening those horizons. Over the weekend, seeing if there's any old patterns there with that can be brought to conscious light. Because Pluto is about, same thing as the 8th house, deeper things, old patterns, and it's suggesting a weekend of maybe changing some old patterns about, again, those belief systems. So you can have healthy open-mindedness, healthy adventurousness in your life. You may even find, too, that's a good week to change and transform any old patterns regarding your self-expression, which is Venus who rules your 5th, and maybe even, too, about your career. Okay, old patterns with that, perspectives, really. And the more open you are to change, then this flows, and it can be a very powerful weekend for you to, again, have an open-minded belief system, maybe make some positive changes with your self-expression, and also with your career there. And I want to mention also Mercury retrograde. Mercury is going back into your 8th house here as we approach next week, over the weekend. So there is this shift of now learning more about openness and depth and psychology and intimacy and research and the deeper things in life. And so it's a good way of working with that. And I think as you approach, again, learning, a willingness to learn and try new things with this deeper dimension, that's a great way of working with both the North Node and that Mercury retrograde. All right, so Capricorn, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.